Welcome to this session on selling skills. In the last session we covered sales process, which is all about designing the steps that you're going to take a potential buyer through to try to get them to become a customer, and figuring out what are the tools and materials you need and who's going to do each of the steps in that. Today we're going to talk about selling skills, which is really more what some people would call the soft skills, and what you do in an interpersonal selling environment when you're with a buyer. And so this is the diagram that we'll use to describe it. And really what happens in a sales call, and whether a sales call goes well or doesn't go well, actually happens before you go to the sales call. And it's all about being prepared. And so the first step is to prepare for a sales call. What are some of the things that are important in doing when preparing for a sales call? First is to try to find as much information as you possibly can on the person that you're meeting with, on the company that they work for, and on their industry. And so having that background information, as much information as you can, will help you be more effective when you get into the call. The second step is to think through those questions that you want to ask when you are in that sales call. Great questions are actually better than having great statements to make. And so a lot of salespeople spend a lot of time thinking about what they're going to say and not as much time thinking about what they're going to ask and try to learn from the customer. And so being prepared starts with what are the 5 or 10 key questions that if I could walk away from the sales call with the answer to these, I'd be in a much better position. And so questions is the second thing. And then the third thing when preparing is determining what are those key pieces of information that I need to share. What do I need to communicate in that? So gathering background information, knowing what questions you're going to ask, and knowing what information you need to share in that call. The next step is when you walk into that meeting is called building rapport. And so what's rapport? It's just connecting with that person, building a relationship with that person. And so there's an old adage that says, a bad person they'll show up and throw up. And so if you walk in the door and immediately start selling and pounding them over the head with why they should buy your product, that's usually not the best way to start a sales call. So you want to build some rapport. What are some ways that you can do that? First, maybe talking about something that's current events that are going on either in your city, in your country, around the world, just to have a topic of conversation right when you walk in. So talking about current events, talking about trends or things that are going on in their industry. If you can bring up something that you learned back in your preparation step, I learned that, oil prices are going down 17% per month right now in your industry, and how is that impacting you and what have you. So you're just having a conversation about some industry trends. You might also find something, some news about that actual company that would be kind of recent news about things they're doing, initiatives they have, or challenges they're facing, and talk about those. And then the last thing might be something that's personal to them. If you're aware that they're into a particular sport or what have you, and you have to determine based on their personality type, is it appropriate to talk about personal things like their interests, their family, other types of things. Some people are more than happy to talk about it. Others people are not. Part of being good at sales is determining whether someone can do that. So that's all about building rapport. At the beginning of your meeting, you want to build rapport. The next step in a great sales call is to identify a need. We've talked about this all the way through the Work for Life training program. From the beginning, when we're developing our strategy, we're trying to find customers with a particular need, a market with a particular need, a market that has customers and companies in it that have that need. Now we're down to an individual account level, an individual customer level, and we're trying to uncover, do they have that need, and if so, how big an issue is it for them? So what you want to do in this area is have some great questions to ask. Sometimes if you ask people questions, they might be kind of closed and not willing to share information, and so you have to be creative. and weave a question in within a conversation about something else. The other great way, if somebody's not opening up a lot at a sales call, is to just start providing some examples of other customers you work with, and to explain, here's some of the challenges that another company just like yours was facing and some of the things that we did for them. So then it makes the customer more comfortable sharing some of their own challenges. So getting into a need is important. So a lot of times your questions, you'll be able to ask questions that will allow you to uncover issues. The second step that you want to take when determining need is to go from issues to really impact. So when a customer says yes, we are having an issue with rising costs of this, or whatever, our sales are declining over here, is to ask them, how's that impacting you? How's it impacting your company? How's it impacting your customers? So finding out how it's impacting all aspects of their business, from people to the processes to everything. So great salespeople go from issues to impact. How is it impacting the organization? So after you get through need and uncovering a need, then the next thing is to make your presentation. And in some cases, it may be a formal presentation where you give a presentation. Here's my solution. Here's how it happens. Here's how it will help you with PowerPoint slides and whatever, or charts or something. In other cases, your presentation may just be you. It may just be you explaining to them. Maybe you've got a small brochure that you hand them. But your presentation, this is where you go back to the training session on communication skills, where you want to get their attention and provide some information to explain what they should think about it, and go on around. And so go back to the communication training to work on that a little bit. So you've got their need, you deliver a presentation, and then you're closing them. And so depending on your sales process, you may need multiple steps in your sales cycle. You may have to meet with them multiple times, or it may just be you've got one meeting and you ask them for the business. One reason that many salespeople don't close as much business as they could is because they don't ask for the order. And so you have to ask for the order. Some people are uncomfortable with that. There's no reason to be uncomfortable with that. If you really believe in what you do, if you really believe in the value of your solution, just ask for the order. Assume the close. That's a great way to go. It's like, okay, so basically to get this delivered, we can take care of this or do that, and you just need to sign this paperwork and assume that they want it. If they're going with you and things are going well throughout here and they're nodding, you should just assume that they want to move forward. And so ask for the business. And then the last thing is to follow up. And follow up is a quick thing and it's a long-term thing. And so when we say follow up, too many times we close a customer and then we move on and we never go back and take care of them properly. And so a great salesperson always stays in communication with their customers. A great salesperson follows up to make sure if there's other parts of your company that have to deliver on the promises that you made, that that's actually happening. And then you follow up with them to check and see how they're doing after they've been using your product or service for a while, and ask them for references and referrals to other customers. And then that takes you back to being prepared, and maybe being prepared to sell to them again another product or another service or an expanded product or service. So these are the steps. Prepare before you go in, build rapport, build a relationship before you go much further, ask good questions to uncover their need, deliver a solid presentation using the approaches that were taught in the communication session, ask for the business, close, and then follow up. Be good at following up. These are the keys to having good selling skills. Good luck to you.